like to call the January 5th, 2023 Utilities Advisory Commission meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to move on to roll call. We have 3 commissioners present, which is a quorum. Next, the public comments. We would entertain any public comments at this time. Seeing no one is present, we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Are there any items any members of the commission would like removed from the consent agenda?
No.
Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion.
A second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda was made by Commissioner Plon and seconded by Commissioner Augustine. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Seeing as we have no old business, we'll move on to new business. Item 1 under new business is to support the implementation of the electric fund reduction countermeasures to City Council. Staff presentation.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. This item, last month, I did a presentation regarding this item, and I talked to the city clerk, and in order to have a motion, has to be on a new business. So that's why we couldn't do the motion last meeting. So I bring it up as a new business so the commissioners can make a recommendation to implement the electric fund reduction countermeasures to City Council.
Question. The fourth bullet, and potentially an additional 2% in 2024, will that have to come back here, back through City Council for that 2% if you choose?
So for 2023, we'll be monitoring how the electric fund balance is, and if we see that we can put an additional 2%, that'll be done in 2024. So it will require basically a city ordinance adopted by the City Council.
Okay,
So
so
it doesn't have to come to the UAC.
it won't have to come through the UAC,
Correct.
but it would have to go through City Council twice, once for 23 and once for 24.
Well, 23 will be done next
Right,
meeting.
next month, yeah,
But that will be an ordinance also.
Correct.
right. But then there'd be another ordinance for 24.
2024, yeah,
Okay.
for 2020, yes.
And this would, for 23, would then go into effect like
March 1st.
March 1st. Okay.
I got that. We talked about it a lot last month.
Any questions?
I do have, a request, actually. I reviewed this analysis that I think you sent to us, the cash flow analysis, and I would like to see an analysis of the actual cash flow at the end of September. That's about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, to be presented in October, just to see what the actual cash flow looks like after implementation. Would that be a possibility?
Yeah, but we can, we were planning to do that anyway. We'll
Okay.
be monitoring every month how the balance.
Would
The
it
cash.
be possible for us to get it every month?
Sure.
Oh,
Well, I'll need to request that information to finance.
that would be awesome.
But it shouldn't be-
Including the use of the CIP,
You
the use
shouldn't-
of the funds for the CIP.
I think we track that we will be tracking that anyway, so
So that will be on a
it shouldn't
monthly
be an
basis.
issue, but I'll talk with the finance director.
Okay. Are there any other questions for staff?
No.
All right. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I second.
Motion has been made to support the implementation of the electric fund reduction countermeasures to city council by Augustine, seconded. Did you say?
I second.
Okay, Augustine, seconded by Plon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to the second item under new business. Approve a recommendation to city council to purchase a Homa submersible pump from Fluid Equipment for $41,828. CIP project number WW8007.
Okay, for those that have not had a chance to visit the Kill Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility, it was built in 2001, has a capacity of 2.5 million gallons a day with a peak capacity of 7.5. All the collection system from the city goes into the influent lift station at the actual facility. The lift station contains 4 7-horsepower submersible pumps. Those pumps were put in place in 2001, and in 2015, the wastewater utility assessment recommended the overhaul or replacement of those pumps. So in 2018, we went ahead and rebuilt 2 pumps, and we bought two other new ones for a total of 4. The service and purchase was done by the EXP Center. They are the single source distributor for Fairbanks and more pumps in Kansas. However, over the past few months or 2 years, we have experienced failure with the Fairbanks pumps. We had seal failures, have problem with the actual connection where the pump attached to the discharge header. We have had a lot of problems with response. They're very slow to respond, and their performance has been unsatisfactory. We had the same similar problem with Hillsdale. We also have Fairbanks more pumps. So since this is the main lift station, this one collects everything from the city, we cannot have any of the pumps down for any considerable amount of time. So the idea is to go ahead and buy a spare pump that we can have on the shelf, that in case one fails, we can put a new one down the hall. So to do that, we went ahead and requested 3 quotes from distributors. JCI, which is, they sell flight pumps. The price for a pump was $59,250. Leeds Van Kirk and Associates, they have the Willow pump for $37,496. And Fluid Equipment, who sells the Homa, $41,828. Although the Willow pump has the lowest cost, it will require some minor modifications to make it fit on the existing location. So staff recommends a Homa pump that comes with a discharge bracket ready to be installed in case of any emergency or issues. So the staff is recommending going with the Homa submersible pump from Fluid Equipment for $41,828. Any questions?
So the modifications that you would have to make to the Willow one, would that be greater than 41,000?
You will have to make it, the discharge has to be fitted to the pump. So there will be some work to be done. I couldn't tell you how much, but it didn't make sense buying a spare pump that you have to do additional work to make it work.
I would agree with that. When you're doing, changing out pumps or something, you don't want to have to make modifications. You want something that can plug and play and go right away.
Yeah, that's a good term, plug and play.
Makes perfect sense. Are there any warranties on the Fairbanks pumps?
It's a 1-year warranty, but these were, the work was done in 2018, so they are out of warranty. Now, since this issue with DXP Center, there's a new representative for Fairbanks Moore in Kansas. And it's, I think it's JCI or Fluid Equipment, but we're trying to stay away from them. We don't want to buy any more Fairbanks and Moore pumps.
You had enough of their customer service and stuff.
Customer service, even the, we don't get a good response from the actual manufacturer either. And this issue we had a lot of issue at Hillsdale, which is a fairly new expansion, less than a year, and already have problem with the pumps.
Any other questions for staff?
Do we know about the reliability of the Homa pump or the Flight pump for that matter?
We have Flight pumps already in Kill Creek. We probably 50% are Flight, 50% are Fairbanks. So we have good experience with Flight. However, they're very pricey. Homa, is my understanding, they will give us a 2-year warranty, and if you need any spare parts, they can supply them within a few days or weeks. They're out of Connecticut.
Okay.
Have you talked to anyone else who uses their equipment, the Homa?
Scott did some research, and he talked to some other municipalities, and they were happy with the Homa pump. Especially with the service and getting parts in.
Are there any other questions?
When will the Homa pump be available? I don't remember if it said on the purchase order.
I think 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
If I'm not mistaken.
I looked over them earlier. I remember one of them gave us a lead time of like a year.
I think 4 to 6.
In your opinion, is that a reasonable amount of time?
Yes.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I motion.
Second.
We have a motion to recommend to City Council to purchase a Homa submersible pump from Fluid Equipment for $41,828. CIP project number WW8007 by Commissioner Plan, seconded by Commissioner Augustine.
There's no back and forth.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to discussion items. Project updates.
Well, I don't have any any updates for projects. There is I don't know if you're aware of this, or if I mentioned this before. There's a new property that was annexed late in 2022. We call it the Strong property. It's
I'm
like
sorry, what was it called?
Strong property by Clare Road. It's about 450 acres. So they're planning to develop put some homes, and in order for the city to provide wastewater service, we need to, they're gonna have to lift the wastewater all the way to the Prairie Trace development. So we already started the engineering to put a lift station and a force main to connect to the existing Prairie Trace development force main.
And
Okay.
that's over in that area?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It's about, I would say, 400 yards from Prairie Trace on the east side.
Is that across from the high school?
No, Prairie Trace,
It's
no,
over across from I-35.
I-35.
Oh, it's on the other side. Oh, okay. You're talking about.
So the development will be south of the substation that we're planning to build. It'll be next to it.
South of 175th and east,
Correct.
so where that,
So that's we're working on that project because it's gonna serve a lot of customers. So we have to put a lift station and lift it all the way and connect it to the force main.
Are there any problems? Is it on schedule?
We just started early this year. No, sorry, early last year. So we had the one meeting 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So I don't have any more updates regarding the project.
But I mean, everything's in order with
So
the
far,
project.
yes.
everything's on track.
Yeah.
Then we have the
Electric outage report for the fourth quarter.
yeah, we had 11 outages affecting 1,262 customers. 6 were caused by equipment failure, 2 by animals, 3 by other reasons. The average work response was 10 minutes. And repair time of 42 minutes. The average after-hour response time was 29 minutes. And the after-hour length of outage was 1 hour 29. The overall average 20 minutes. And the repair time 1 hour and 8 minutes. That's the actual report.
Of course, can you go back one? The one that caught my attention was the one that affected over 1,000 customers. And it was due to a sudden pressure event.
Actually, that happened, I think it should be twice. That was on the 20. I think we're missing something here. Huh. Okay, on the 28th, Substation 1 has 2 transformers. Transformer 2, T2, is the one that provides electricity to our customers, Walmart and around that area.
That's part of it.
T1 is used for generating power from the 2 gas turbines. So on 12/28, we had a sudden pressure relay trip. So that means that you have a transformer and there is something inside a transformer that releases some type of gas and puts some pressure inside the actual transformer. That's called a sudden pressure. So if that happens, the relay will activate and trip the substation as part of protecting the equipment. So we went ahead, we took, every time you have these type of events, you take an oil sample from the actual transformer and send it out for analysis. That will tell you if there's any gases or any hydrogen or acetylene inside a transformer that cause this problem. So we send the oil for analysis. We're still waiting for the results, but it looks like it was a not a real indication. What I mean by that is, it was last week, we have a similar event with not T1, but with T2 transformer, which is next to it. Same problem. The probabilities of having a sudden pressure on both transformers is very slim. Almost none, the possibilities. So we're investigating what else is causing this sudden pressure trips on two different transformers.
Sounds like a problem.
Well,
Over 1,000
I think I think we understand where the problem might be. So in late or September of last year, we had HPI do the controls upgrade for the gas turbines. It is my belief there's a cross connection between the wiring done for the gas turbine controls and the substation protection. That's my feeling. So we have HPI doing the troubleshooting to find out what signal or what cable is causing the problem.
It'll be interesting to see the report once it's
Yeah.
figured out.
So-
But they're now currently investigating it.
They're actively investigating since last week. Because getting one sudden pressure said, well, maybe, but two different equipment is very unlikely. So there has to be something common to both trips.
So when you have an outage like this that affects that many people, I had a resident ask me, is there anything that the city does whenever there's a person who needs medical electricity and power goes off? Does the city have anything
There's a list
to
of,
notify them? Or
well, utilities doesn't, but I believe utility billing, they have a list of people with medical condition they required electricity to have machines working and so on, including the dialysis facility here.
So how is that resolved when their power goes off?
The thing we need to do is restore the power as soon as possible. So I don't know if you remember, but in 2020, we implemented a automatic distribution switch. So the idea is to have separate circuits. Let's say we have circuit 21 that feeds Walmart. If we have a breaker that trips and causes an outage on circuit 21, we have a device that will connect a different circuit, 42, to feed circuit 21. So that's how we restore power within 10, 20 minutes.
It's like a redundant load balancing type thing.
Pretty much, it's a backfeed. So we isolate the equipment that caused the problem, and then we'll send a different, we will find a different route for the electricity to get to a customer.
But there's no medical help or assistance that's sent to those locations that you know of?
I'm not aware of.
Do you know of any city that has that type of
I
service to the people?
couldn't answer it.
Especially if you have a list, already.
No, there's a list that's saying that certain people, they need the power, you cannot shut them off.
Oh, I see.
So if you don't pay your bills, you cannot shut them off because they need the electricity for their medical needs.
I got you. They had just asked me if there was any kind of procedure or anything that takes place in the city to help those people when their power is off.
No. The best we can do is restore the power as soon as possible. And we can do it within, I said, 10, 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully they have a better backup.
Yeah, well, of course, generator.
Any other questions on the electric?
Good.
That's the pie chart. This is a comparison for the past 3 years. As you will see, where's the others? The others.
Looks like the equipment issues have increased over the past couple of years.
I noticed that. That was one of the things I was going to bring up, that it's kind of,
Yeah, but the biggest hitters.
worrisome that.
Well, yeah, it's 11 green, equipment blue. Yeah, but usually the other is something outside our, it can be something, the other is more related to the actual customer. It can be the cables going from the meter to their distribution panel, things like that. That is outside our service.
But I guess I would like to see the blue portion decrease each year, but it hasn't increased with the equipment.
When I look at this, it's like all the others are, trees, animal storms, damage by others, that's all stuff out of our control.
Correct.
But the equipment thing has been increasing over the past 2 years.
And let me go
That
back.
is kind of in our control.
Let me see what we can see here. That's
Because I agree, just trees and storms and stuff, being acts of God, we can't do anything about that, but it seems like we're having more equipment failures.
EG equipment. Equipment. By transformer, customer power, 1 meg. That's our EQ. Yeah, this is related to fuses and transformers failures. What it looks like. Looking at the list.
So that's why it's the increase, it's the fuses and the transformers, is what you're saying?
Going just a quick glance, we have here power out bad transformer. Power out, the customer have power, 1 leg secondary went bad. And secondary.
T2 transformer fuse melted down.
So we have the smart meters. Part of the smart meters, there is a app that will monitor the transformers. So hopefully we'll start looking at that more closely to see if the transformer is reaching its capacity or if there's any other issues with the transformers. But I believe that will be probably the best thing to monitor more actively to identify potential problems related to transformers.
Because if we're seeing an increase, I'm just saying, looking at, if we're seeing an increase in equipment failures, maybe something to invest in. We have an older infrastructure that we need to replace and stuff so that we
That's the same question I had when I joined Gardner. I said, well, how do we replace transformers? And the answer was, we wait until it fails. But I came from Florida Power and Light, and they were very supportive of doing process improvement and replacing equipment before you have a failure, because that can cause not several hundred or 1,000 customers. In Florida Power and Light, you can lose maybe like 300,000 customers because of a transformer. But we'll get this. We'll be monitoring this more actively this year.
How long have you been here again, Gons?
7.
7? Wonder if the current city council and administration would be more receptive to a preventative maintenance program.
I mean, the only, but I understand the way the way the city council was looking back then, our budget and stuff. But do we have like this user transformer loop? Do we have the data? It's like how old was it? Can we identify patterns like that?
I don't think we have that information.
Yeah, and that's things like,
Not-
are we seeing this, like they're blowing after 10 years or so, or they blown it, we kind of replace, just like with an engine, with a car, you have to replace parts after so many thousand miles and stuff like that. Something you do, you don't wait for it to fail, you just know that after so many 100,000 miles, you have to replace this. Just something to think about.
No, I had an idea of start looking at transformers that had more than, I would say, 30 years to start maybe replacing them,
Yeah, I would
especially if they're reaching their capacity.
Yeah, and that would be something I would be.
So don't you have an inventory of equipment, and it's probably dated, that equipment, the dates when they were purchased?
I'm not sure prior to me coming here if that's information is available.
Is not available?
I'm not sure.
So what on a transformer, what's a typical life expectancy?
It can be 30, 40, 50 years. All depends how well you're, I guess, you maintain it, or if you're not overloading your transformer. Because that will take a few years. I mean, you can overload like 10, 20% for a few minutes, but you cannot do it 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's gonna fail.
Like hitting your engine
Right.
in red line for too long.
Correct.
It's like you can do it for a little bit to get you going, but you can't ride red line for.
But like I said, we have additional information that we need to start looking and see how can we improve lowering the equipment failures, especially transformers.
Yeah, I think that would be a good project, just to get a list of all the equipment and the dates and how old they are. Would that be a possibility to do that type of project?
I need to go and look at GIS. We have them in the map. We have all the components, all transformers, switches, so we will have to do hopefully that information is in GIS, and then we can do a query and see which transformers are more than 30 years old. And then look how much are we loading that transformer and see if we need to replace it or not.
I think that would be something we'd want to see.
That would be interesting.
I mean, with the Eco One and smart meters, there's a lot of data that we can
And it takes
analyze.
time to sift through that data, I get that.
I think we would like to see that.
Okay?
Any other data points that you think we should be looking at that we're not?
Well, the transformer, you have a couple of things. You can look the loading you're putting in the transformer, then at what temperature you're operating the transformer. So there's a lot of maybe 2, 3 parameters associated with the transformer that we can monitor.
Okay.
But it's a matter of doing a list of which, I said, what are the top 10 transformer we need to look at, and then monitor the top 10. Then if we replace those 10, then we go to the next list of the next 10 and monitor and see. That's the approach I would do.
I like it.
If you could initiate that, that would be great.
Okay, we'll get it started. Then on the reliability indexes for, well, let's go to the year to date or end of the year. We had 41 minutes for the SIDE, 97 minutes for the CAIDI, 99.99 ASI. The MUFI, which is the momentary interruptions, 0.0049. The SIFI, the system average interruption frequency index, 0.1658. Customer affected in 2022, 9,181. And the average interruptions per mile, 409 interruptions per mile. If we compare to 2021, we did a lot better, except on the, what is it? On the MIFI, the momentary average interruption frequency index.
But if I remember correctly, the MIFI counts half-second interruptions, like little blips. You still get-
Less than 1 minute, yes.
Yeah, so it's like, even if it's like, just makes your light flicker, it counts it even though it really wasn't an interruption, right?
Correct.
So, really, it's, what killed, what looks like what killed us is the January 28th bump on the customers affected, otherwise we would have been well under that, I think.
Correct, yep.
You mean the December one or the?
Well, yeah, the December 28th, there was 1,200 people affected. If it wasn't for that, we'd have been basically under on everything.
Can you
Yeah,
tell
for
me?
December, we had the 5,088 customers.
Was that the one with the smart meter also?
Everything is on smart meter.
I mean, the one where the protection wasn't there when
Sign
you were
protect,
testing?
yeah, that's the one that's included there.
Okay.
And there was another, well, I'll give you a little more detail. So when we lost substation 1, which is next to the utility admin building, we lost some of the controller for the SCADA. So sub 1 went dark, the SCADA for sub 1 went dark, and we couldn't do anything remotely. What happened was that the equipment for SCADA 1 and sub 1 was connected to a regular AC outlet. So when you lose sub 1, you lose the SCADA. So we already fixed that problem. So we put a UPS for that equipment, so regardless if we lose sub 1 or not, you still want to get the information to the SCADA. And that will probably, with that, we should be able to restore it within 5 minutes instead of 10 to 20 minutes. But that issue was taken care of.
Can you tell me about the year-to-date row? Because I'm not sure on some of the math. Like if I'm looking at the CAIDI column,
Yep.
it says year-to-date 97 minutes, but in November it was 94 and in December it was 17. That those two combined is over 97, let alone the rest of the year.
You cannot do a straight average on the CAIDI. So you cannot add all the numbers and then divide it by 12 and come out, you won't come out with 97.
Okay.
So
it's-
the way
That's the new
kite,
math.
It's the
so the
new
way,
math.
the way kite is calculated, let's say you have 100 meters. Let's say that the first 5 meters were out of service for a minute. So the way it works, let's say a minute, the other 5 were 2 minutes. So the way you calculate the kite, you add the first 5 meters, then 1 minute, you have what do they call it, a CMI, customer minutes. So now you have 5 times 1, you have 5 CMI. Plus, let's say the other 5 took 2 minutes. Now you have 5 times 2 is 10. So your total CMI is your 5 plus your 10 is 15. And then you divide it by the number of meters. So when you get the,
100, 15 is divided by 100 meters.
correct. So to calculate a year to date, you need to come up with the total CMI for the 365 days, and then divide it by the total amount of meters affected, and that will give you your year to date. So you cannot do with the KIDI, you cannot do a straight average or summation. It just won't work.
Okay. What about customers affected? Similar?
No, customer affected, if we have, let's say, we have in 2022, 9,181 customers.
Experienced power outage.
So basically, everybody experienced an outage in 2022.
So if power goes out at my house in June and then power goes out at my house in September, am I counted once or twice?
You'll be counted once,
Okay,
because you're the same customer.
that's what I was wondering. It didn't add up again. So
So again, if
Just
you try
checking.
to, if you try to add the numbers, he just won't.
right. And that's what it just like, when I see year to date, like, how are we getting?
Yeah, you weren't once in February and once in June, you were once for the year.
Yeah, you're the same customer. Yeah.
Yep, that's fair. Okay.
So the only one that didn't hit target was the interruptions per year.
Yeah, the momentary interruptions.
That was the only one that didn't hit your target.
Correct.
But we don't have a target for customers affected.
To me, it should be,
Close to zero as well.
I'll say close to 0 as possible. That's a good answer.
We just make up.
So in
Put
addition,
10,000 in there, then we're doing better.
That's still less than half the city.
so in addition, this information comes from the Eco1, which is the smart meter software. In addition, we're inputting the data also through the APPA, the American Public Power Association. And with the APPA, you have an option of removing your momentary outages. So you can set your report to filter anything more than a minute. They say 5 minutes. So anything that 5 minutes is a momentary outage. So that will be filtered out of the numbers, and we should get a more representative number of what actually is happening.
I would agree with that.
Would that representative number be what the other cities are using?
Correct.
Ah, okay.
That will give us, so we will be able to compare with other cities also. This is just Eco1, that's next grid.
Find some other cities that did worse and make us feel really good.
Oh, they'll send APPA will send a report by March,
Okay,
comparing
Okay.
different cities.
that'll be good.
And you'll share that with us?
Yes. Sewer repairs, fourth quarter, we had 7 repairs, 7 customers, 6 due to resident issues and 1 due to other issue. The average workday respond 15 minutes, the repair time 1 hour, 30 minutes. On the after hours, the response time was 35 minutes and the average repair 1 hour and 10 minutes. Overall, average response 21 minutes and repair time was 1 hour and 12. Yeah, which means that usually the problems we had in the past was grease, roots, and line failures, which we didn't have any on the fourth quarter. And you look at 2022, 2024, sorry, 2020, 21, and 22, we have racing issues. That's probably the biggest problem, followed by, what's the other one? Gray. Damaged by others in 2021, and grease and roots, we had none in 2022.
Oh, they're not the same colors.
And looking at 2020, we have 1 grease, 3 roots problems. 2021, 1 grease and roots were 2. And in 2022, we have 0 and 0.
That's better news.
And that has something to do with the actual, inspections we do with the camera, and then we do monthly and semi-annual line cleaning to eliminate any grease or roots.
Definitely working.
Water report, fourth
Well,
quarter.
And on the fog project too, right? Didn't that help some?
That will be the fog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will help with the grease.
Yeah.
And that was implemented last year, so
Exactly.
we'll see the results in 2023. Water repairs, we had 21 repairs affecting 55 customers, 5 due to line failure, 1 due to a saddle failure, 1 to a valve failure, 2 to resident issues, and 12 to other issues. Average workday response time 20 minutes, repair time 1 hour 32 minutes. After hours response time 25 minutes, and the average repair time 1 hour and 24 minutes. Overall, 22 minutes to respond and 1 hour and 29 minutes for the repair time.
I had a question on here about water quality. It seems like there's a lot of instances where water quality was the issue.
So every year happens in the fall and in the spring. Due to temperature changes, you get some kind of, what's the word they use? Turnover or inversion, I would say, at the lake. And that usually brings problems with odor more than anything else. But for example, I live in 183rd and I never had any issues. So it appears that the customers experiencing this type of issues are on a close to a dead end where there's no, the water distribution is not looped. So you get like stagnated water, if you want to call it that. So that appears to be the biggest contributor, people that are at the end of a water distribution line. So the remedy is we go and start flushing the water lines. But there's probably, I don't know, I would say a couple of thousand dead-end water mains, so it will be almost impossible to do a
Citywide.
100% flush of the system. So what we need to do, hopefully with the new development, is have loops, and instead of having a dead end, you will have a loop that will feed into another water main, and that will keep the water flowing.
So is that a project that's ongoing?
No, it's not a project. It will happen as we develop new, as we build new homes or businesses.
I gotcha.
But it's gonna be a problem always because usually the developer will run the line and say, okay, we'll cap it here and that's it. Because there's nothing else past that point, so.
I gotcha.
You can't go in and fix it because you'd have to dig up the street and everything, and then run new pipe and go,
So
But there's
flushing
some
it out.
deficiencies in the actual system that we've identified, so we'll try to eliminate those as much as we can.
So you had 5, but you went and flushed it out and it was fine.
We flush several homes.
Oh, I just see 5 here, so.
Yeah, we just start doing a routine flushing.
In the area where you get the complaints?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So if we know there's a dead end water main, we'll go and flush that line.
Oh, okay.
But it's a problem that occurs, like say, maybe every fall and spring with the water temperature. Yeah, look at the line failures. Line failure, Conestoga. Line failure. Lincoln, Gardner. So when you have a line failure, they put a saddle to repair that line. But let's say you have a line that has 2 or 3 saddles, it's a time to go ahead and replace the line. Because sooner or later, the saddle is gonna fail also. So if there's so many, it's like putting when you have your tire leaking, you used to put a plug to fix the problem, but you can have more than so many plugs, you have to replace your tire. So it's the same thing with the water line. After so many saddles, you have to actually replace the water main. And that's what we did with, what's the name of this? There's apartments by Blazers. Not Aspen. Where Gary, Brittany Court. That's a good example. Over the past several years, they repaired Brittany Court water main. I think the last repair was 2 years ago. It came to a point that we're fixing that every year, so we went ahead and replaced the entire water main last November. So that's a brand new water main because of the failures we had in the past. Because Brittany Court,
So do you service the Aspen place?
the Aspen,
Apartment place? over
Aspen,
there?
no, we don't.
That's Central.
We don't.
Okay, okay.
It was
I was like, they
Brittany
had
Court. It was
bad
Brittany
water
Court.
problems over
Brittany
there.
Court.
Okay. Okay.
Comparison 2020, 2021, 2022, our total went down considerably,
Yeah, totals.
Less than half.
especially on the line failures. 28, 19, and a few valve failures. So we're a little more proactive with the past couple of years.
Go team.
And that's all I have for tonight.
Does anyone have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
A motion to adjourn by Commissioner Paul, seconded by Commissioner Augustine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Great success.